Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that just one sentence, just one, could make someone stop in their tracks, turn their head, and never forget you? What if, instead of the same old, "Hi, how are you?" you had a handful of words so powerful that they sparked an instant connection? Words that didn't just introduce you, but pulled them into your world. See, most people don't think about what they say. They throw words out like loose change, hoping something sticks. But the people who command attention, the ones who walk into a room and own it, they know the secret. Words are weapons. Words shape perception. And if you use the right ones, you'll become unforgettable. Stay with me, because by the time we're done, you'll never say, "Hi, how are you?" again. Instead, you'll have 6 phrases, 6 golden keys that unlock intrigue, attraction, and connection. Words shape attraction. They shape perception. They shape the way people remember you, or if they remember you at all. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room, say just a few words, and suddenly all eyes are on them? It's not magic. It's not luck. It's not because they're the tallest, the richest, or the best looking. No, it's because they understand something most people don't. Words have power. Most people waste words. They throw out empty phrases like "spare change," "Hey, how are you?" "What's up?" "Nice weather today." That's not a conversation. That's white noise. That's background chatter. Nobody remembers that. Nobody feels anything from that. Do you want to know what people do remember? Emotion, impact, something that makes them stop for a second and think, "Wait, who is this?" That's what separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. Think about the most captivating people you've ever met. The ones who made you lean in, who made you feel like they had something special. What did they do differently? They didn't just talk, they spoke. They didn't just fill space with words, they commanded attention. Every sentence was deliberate, intentional, designed to make you feel something. And when you feel something, you remember. There's a reason certain phrases stick with you long after you hear them. It's because they trigger something deeper. When someone says, "You've never heard this before," your mind perks up. It's hooked, searching, anticipating. When someone tells you, "You seem like someone who knows how to have fun," you don't just hear the words, you feel them. It's a moment of recognition, a moment that sparks intrigue, excitement, and a connection you didn't even realize was forming. That's the difference. The people who know how to use words don't ask for attention. They don't chase it. They attract it. And the best part? You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be the most outgoing person in the room. You just have to understand the power of what you say and how you say it. Because when you do, you don't need to ask for a second of anyone's time. They give it to you willingly, because something about you is just different. Confidence is magnetic. It's the unspoken force that draws people in before you even say a word. You ever see someone walk into a room and before they've even introduced themselves, people notice? They turn their heads, they pay attention, they feel something. That's confidence. It's not arrogance. It's not about being the loudest. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about knowing. Knowing who you are, knowing the value you bring, knowing that when you speak, people will listen. Most people don't realize this, but communication isn't just about words. It's about delivery. It's about how you say something. Two people can say the exact same sentence, but one will be forgotten while the other leaves a lasting impression. Why? Because confidence isn't just in the words. It's in the way those words are spoken. The pause before a punchline. The ease in the voice. The calm, steady presence that makes every word land with weight. That's what people respond to. That's what makes people feel something. You ever hear someone introduce themselves like they're apologizing for existing? Low energy, mumbling, barely making eye contact. They could have the most interesting thing in the world to say, but it won't matter. Because if they don't believe in their words, why should anyone else? On the other hand, take someone who speaks with conviction, with presence, with a rhythm that commands the room. Suddenly, even the simplest words become captivating. Confidence isn't about saying more, it's about saying less, but making every word count. It's about owning your space, knowing you don't have to rush, knowing that silence, when used right, is just as powerful as speech. It's about standing there, looking someone in the eye, and letting them feel the weight of your presence before you even open your mouth. You ever notice how the most influential people don't beg for attention? They don't chase conversations. They don't try to impress. They just are. They show up. They speak with certainty, and people naturally gravitate toward them because deep down, everyone is drawn to someone who carries themselves with assurance, with purpose. And the moment you start to embody that, everything changes. People want to hear what you have to say. They want to be around you, not because you're the loudest, not because you're the most outgoing, but because something about you is just undeniable. People don't respond to words. They respond to emotion. They respond to feeling. You can have the perfect sentence, the smoothest line, the most well-thought-out approach. But if it doesn't make someone feel something, it won't stick. That's the difference between someone who speaks and someone who moves people. It's not about what you say. It's about the energy behind it. The emotional trigger that makes the other person stop and pay attention. You ever wonder why certain moments in your life stand out more than others? It's not because of the words that were said, it's because of how those words made you feel. Think about a time when someone inspired you, challenged you, made you laugh, made you think. Those moments stay with you because they weren't just conversations, they were experiences. They meant something. And when you learn to create that kind of experience in your interactions, you become unforgettable. They ask questions, they exchange pleasantries, but they never tap into what makes someone tick. That's why most conversations fade into the background, lost in a sea of forgettable interactions. But the moment you trigger an emotion, curiosity, excitement, intrigue, you shift the dynamic. Suddenly, it's no longer just words. It's a moment, and moments are what people remember. You ever hear someone say, "I bet you've never heard this before," and immediately your mind locks in. That's curiosity. That's a hook. That's an emotional trigger pulling you in before you even know what's coming next. You ever have someone tell you, "I can tell you know how to have a good time," and for a second, you pause, because whether it's true or not, you like the way it sounds. That's validation. That's the power of words infused with emotion. It's not about impressing someone with knowledge, facts, or rehearsed lines. It's about making them feel something real. You make someone curious. They lean in. You make someone excited. They stay engaged. You make someone feel seen, feel important. They remember you. Every great connection, whether in friendship, love, business, or leadership, starts with emotion. And once you master how to tap into that, you'll never have to chase attention again. It will come to you naturally, because people are drawn to those who make them feel alive. Most people start conversations the same way. They say what's easy, what's comfortable, what's familiar. They throw out the usual, "Hey, how are you?" like it's some magic key to connection. But what happens? The other person responds with something just as dull. "I'm good, you?" And just like that, the moment is gone. No excitement, no intrigue, no reason to remember that interaction 5 minutes later. That's not conversation. That's autopilot. That's background noise in a world already filled with too much of it. The ones who stand out, the ones who create moments worth remembering, they don't ask the questions everyone else asks. They don't start where everyone else starts. They break the pattern. They disrupt the script. Because the mind isn't wired to remember the predictable. It's wired to remember difference. You ever had someone walk up to you and say, "You look like someone who's got an interesting story to tell"? Feels different, doesn't it? It makes you pause. It makes you think. It makes you want to engage. Because suddenly, you're not just answering another routine question. You're part of something unique. The way you start a conversation sets the entire tone for what happens next. Lead with something anyone could say, and you'll be forgotten just as fast. Lead with something unexpected, something that sparks curiosity, something that means something, and you got someone's full attention before they even realize why. That's the power of breaking the pattern. That's the difference between being another face in the crowd and being the person people want to talk to, want to listen to, want to be around. A story beats a greeting every time. A challenge is more engaging than small talk. A bold statement, a playful tease, a line that makes someone stop and think, those are the things that create energy. Because energy is what keeps people engaged. It's what makes a moment feel alive. And when a moment feels alive, it becomes something worth remembering. Every conversation is a chance to create something meaningful, something different, something that lingers in the mind long after the words have been spoken. The only question is, are you willing to step out of the ordinary and make it happen? Most people go into conversations thinking about what they want to say. They focus on making the right impression, telling the right story, proving their worth. But the truth is, the most powerful way to connect with someone isn't by talking, it's by listening. Not the kind of listening where you're just waiting for your turn to speak. Real listening. The kind that makes the other person feel like, for once, someone actually sees them. You ever notice how people light up when you ask about them? Not the surface level stuff. Not the usual, "What do you do?" or "Where are you from?" Those questions are fine, but they don't hit. They don't spark anything real. You ask someone, "Tell me something interesting about you," and watch what happens. At first, they might hesitate, caught off guard, because when was the last time someone really wanted to know them beyond the basics? But then they think, they reflect, and before you know it, they're sharing something real, something meaningful. That's the moment where connection starts. People spend so much time trying to be interesting, when the real secret is to be interested. You make someone feel seen, feel valued, feel like what they say matters, and they'll remember you long after the words fade. That's because deep down, everyone wants to be understood. Everyone wants to feel like their story means something. And when you create that space for someone, when you give them that moment, it's powerful, it's magnetic. It makes you different from every other person just going through the motions. Confidence isn't just about speaking with authority. It's about knowing you don't always have to be the center of attention to hold power in a conversation. The ones who leave the biggest impact aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who make others feel like they matter. The ones who make a person walk away thinking, I don't know what it is, but there's something about them I just can't forget. The difference between a forgettable interaction and one that changes everything, it's not in what you say. It's in how you make the other person feel. And once you understand that, everything changes. You stop trying to be unforgettable. You just are. Every conversation is an opportunity, a moment where something small can turn into something unforgettable. But most people, they waste it. They stay safe. They keep it light, keep it comfortable, never pushing beyond what's expected. And that's exactly why most conversations go nowhere. They don't challenge anything. They don't create an experience worth remembering. If you want to be the person who stands out, the person people can't forget, you have to be willing to step into deeper waters. You ever notice how the best conversations aren't the ones that just pass the time, but the ones that shift something inside of you? Maybe it's a question that makes you rethink something. Maybe it's a perspective that opens your mind in a way you never considered before. Maybe it's someone who had the courage to call you out, to challenge you, to push you beyond the surface. Those are the moments that stick, because they're real, because they make you feel alive. Most people won't go there. They're afraid of going too deep, of saying the wrong thing, of making the moment uncomfortable. But discomfort, that's where connection lives. That's where real conversations happen. When you're not afraid to ask the things most people shy away from, when you bring out a side of someone they don't normally show, that's when you leave an impression they won't shake. You tell someone, I bet there's something about you that most people don't see right away. And watch how they respond. That's not just a line, it's an invitation to be real, to be vulnerable, to step outside the usual routine of polite conversation and actually connect. You say something bold like, you don't strike me as someone who settles for ordinary. And you'll see it, the shift, the flicker in their eyes that says, this is different. Because it is. It's something unexpected. It's something that means something. Most people spend their time trying to impress, trying to prove themselves, trying to play the part they think they're supposed to play. But the ones who truly connect, they go beyond that. They don't just talk, they challenge. They don't just listen, they see. And when you do that, when you create a space where someone feels truly understood, you don't just hold their attention for a moment. You leave an imprint that lasts far beyond the words you spoke. Because it's not just about talking, it's about making people feel something real. It's not just about words, it's about presence. It's about energy. It's about making someone feel something the moment they meet you. The next time you walk into a room, don't just blend in. Don't just say what everybody else says, because the people who leave an impression, they understand. They know that words, when chosen wisely, become the spark that ignites something unforgettable. So go ahead, say the right words, say them with confidence, and watch what happens. Because the moment you master this, no one will be able to resist you. Thank you,